In 2012, Lou called a fast, and I had known Lou since 2009, and had been just building a relationship with him, doing some organizational consulting, but not really anything specific in terms of ministry with him. It had been this and that, and the call was actually going through a phase there for a couple years where Lou was considering, taking it underground and just kind of shutting down for a while. And in 2012, just prior to that, in 2011, some YWAMers had come to his house, given this prophetic word, there's a shift coming to the call. I won't go into that for time's sake, but you may have heard that word. And so there was this kind of resurgence. Lou was living in Kansas City at the time, laboring with Mike Bickle. They had been together for, 6 or 7 years, but it had been in Lou's heart to return to Pasadena, California. That was where revival first broke out for him, is where he and Cheon moved to and began to labor in the kingdom when the Toronto renewal hit. It was happening in Mott Auditorium on the campus of Dr. Winters. It's not called that anymore. Missions. Anyway, I can't. I can't remember. Okay. So anyway, it was on the campus of this missions place, but this auditorium, Mott Auditorium, was a spiritual well, an inheritance point for Lou. And so he was taking a team from Kansas City to go and pray about returning, leaving Kansas City and returning. Well, I had, this is where I'm going to tell a whole lot of stories, okay? There's a whole lot of threads here that are going to interweave. If you feel like I've lost you, stick around. It'll all come together. That's the beautiful thing about an author. He knows how to weave many plots and subplots together, and it actually makes a more satisfying story.
That's so good.
A multi-dimensional life is a rich life.
My God, so good.
So, we go. I wish I had pulled this up. No, I don't have access. I'll show you tomorrow. So I go, and a day or two before I go, I have 3 dreams in a row. In one dream, I am in a place called Haggai's house. I've never been to Pasadena prior to this. I'm in a place called Haggai's house. I am meeting with a man named Paul. And I've had, since my 12 waterfalls dream, since my everything's going wrong Isaiah 54 dream, I've had a number of dreams since then where either the number 12 is showing up or a person named Paul, and they're inviting me to do their job. So the Lord is continuing to talk to me about this apostolic call that I've been resisting and pushing aside. So now I have a dream that a man named Paul, actually his name was Paul Casey. The pun, you got to learn the language of puns. God speaks in puns. So Paul Casey was an apostolic component that was coming from Kansas City. We call it KC.
Yeah.
So Paul Casey was with this team coming from Kansas City, KC, and we were meeting, and he was giving me blueprints. And I knew the blueprints were related to how to reproduce what was happening. That was one dream. Another dream, I was with the Father, and there was a river flowing from my life to a mountain. And on the mountain were the 2 witnesses of Revelation 11. And I knew that this was the mountain of the Lord, the house of prayer, and the Father was telling me that my life was to be about raising up the house of prayer as a witness in the earth. So these dreams happened. Well, we get there, we start the fast. Lou is always calling a fast. So we started, before I'm done, I'm going to call a fast. No, I'm not. Actually, I am, but it'll be on down the line. So we get there, and our most trusted dreamer in our movement, we are a movement of dreams. We have 3 to 5 every week that we process, sometimes 5 to 10. It feels like drinking from a fire hose, but we listen to the voice of the Lord in dreams.
Right.
And most everything that has happened in and through us over the last 20 years is because God spoke in a dream. So our most trusted dreamer, 32-year covenant friend of Lou, he has a dream while we are there that an angel, a Mohawk Indian angel, giant angel, has a key for Lou. And the key is inscribed with 731. And he's handing the key to Lou. And the angel's name, he says, is I'll meet you on the mountain. Now here, this is the wonderful world of dreams. It draws us in, just the mystery of it. It's why mysteries are interesting. It's because they elude rational and immediate understanding, and thereby they grab hold of us and pull us in so that by the time revelation has hit us, we've become part of the story.
That's right. Emotionally.
So the symbolism is don't be frustrated by it. Learn to work with God. Learn to speak His language.
Yeah.
So an angel named I'll meet you on the mountain gives Lou a key that says 731 on it. Well, Lou being Lou, he believes in seizing moments.
Yeah.
You don't just hear a dream, you pray the dream, you do the dream.
Yeah.
So he actually timed our fast for 40 days. We started in June.
Yeah.
40 days to end on July 31, 7/31. And he just thought, who knows? Maybe I'll meet an angel that night. This is just kind of the simple faith that we try to live in. So we backed up from July 31st, 40 days, went through 40 days. Lou, for years, has been governed by a phrase called seizing your divine moment.
Yeah.
This was actually a book written by a pastor named Erwin McManus. He wrote a book called Seizing Your Divine Moment. Lou had a dream. I'm going to say that many times. There was a dream, and in the dream, Erwin McManus was throwing Lou, the book, you're Lou, he's throwing the book, and he caught it. He caught it, and that was all the dream was, but it was the priming the pump, the Lord speaking to him saying, learn how to seize divine moments. When it's coming to you, catch it.
That's right.
Don't just watch it fly by, catch it. Well, we're there during these 40 days only to find out, interestingly enough, Erwin McManus's church is currently occupying Mott Auditorium where Lou wants to move back to. His church, there are 5 satellite campuses in LA. One of them was on the campus, U.S. Center for World Missions. That's what it was called. Thank you, Lord. Can check that off my little mental list. U.S. Center for World Missions, Mott Auditorium was currently being rented out to Erwin McManus's church. And, isn't it interesting, they were vacating the month we were there.
Yeah.
So Lou, for years, has been primed to seize a divine moment. He's applied it here, 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 and here. Now it's literally happening. Erwin McManus is throwing him a divine moment in his desire to move back to Pasadena. And it's all set up in these 40 days, aiming towards 7/31. What's the angel going to be? Well, now back up. That's the present tense story. Back up. A few years before, I had a dream. Probably 15 years before I ever knew Lou. It was before Lou knew Lou. Nobody knew Lou. And I had a dream, and in the dream, I was staring at the most beautiful mountain I've ever seen. It was a single mountain, snow-capped, peaked in glory, high as the heavens, a blanket of grass, and a skirt of many-colored flowers around the base. It was just beautiful. And in the dream, I kept calling it Mount Beautiful. This is Mount Beautiful. And I knew it had to do with the mountain of God and the beauty of God. Now remember, in the future, I'm going to be given a dream right before going that I'm being shown the mountain of God. It was a different aspect. But back then, it was Mount Beautiful.
Wow.
And I'm also at a convenience store, a petrol station, and I'm looking for a key that has been lost. And I'm there at Mount Beautiful, I'm overlooking, but I'm by this petrol station. Is that what they're called? Petrol station?
Okay.
Trying to be British?
Yeah.
And I'm looking for this key that goes to the petrol pump. Because I know I need the key to the gasoline, the fuel, right? Now, dream interpretation for dummies, right? The gas that powers things, the power source, need the key.
Yeah.
So I finally find the key, and it's under a loose chip in the road, and I pull it out, and it's a very old-fashioned key. They call them skeleton keys, I think, those old-fashioned keys. But I'm discouraged in the dream because it's bent. And I hold up the key in the dream, and my last phrase is, in the dream I ask myself, does the key still work? Now that's the end of the dream. 15 years before I ever know Lou. Now we are in 2012, fasting and praying, and a key is supposed to be handed to Lou on 7/31 by an angel named I'll meet you on the mountain. And I am staying at Haggai's house, which the Lord showed me 2 nights before. I get to Haggai's house with Paul Casey and these apostolic blueprints, and I want you to see the weaving together of 2 lives and callings.
That's right.
And so I get there, and guess what Haggai's house, what street it's located on? It's called Sierra Bonita.
No. Yeah.
What? Mount Beautiful.
Yeah.
Haggai's house is on a place called Mount Beautiful. Now actually, it's the brilliance of the Lord. The Spanish would actually translate it the beautiful mountain.
Yeah.
But the literal English reading of it would be Mount Beautiful.
Yeah.
Sierra Bonita.
Yeah.
Mount Beautiful. So I'm starting to vibrate a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay? Because some things are coming together here that I don't fully understand. By the end of this time on 7/31, July 31st, it's actually about 11 o'clock on July 30th. The director of the U.S. Center for World Missions calls Lou, and they've just been getting to know each other. But he really latched on to Lou. That's what people do. Latched on just because the man is a fireball.
Yeah, he is.
And so he said, Lou, I think you need to come get this. You might want to read it immediately. He said, I've been looking all across the country for a book the whole time you've been here. And I haven't been able to find except 1 copy that was at a college in Kansas City. So there was something that came from Kansas City, not just us, but some apostolic blueprints that came. He said, I have this book. It's an old copy. It's from the 1940s. I want you to have it. Lou goes over and picks it up tomorrow. Remind me, I'll try to show the book cover.
Yeah.
It's a thin little book published by the Nazarene Church that built Mott Auditorium as a place of revival.
Goodness.
They built it on the prayer of faith. It was in the aftermath of the Great Depression in the United States. And they would pray because there were no bricks, there was no lumber. They would pray and God would bring money or bring wood and they would put up a wall. And then they would pray. And then they would get. And stick by stick, wall by wall, Mott Auditorium was erected on the prayer of faith. And it was a revival center for years and years.
My goodness.
And so Lou gets the book, and it's the history of Mott Auditorium. It shows a mountain in the background.
Right.
It shows a key over Mott Auditorium. The last question in my dream 15 years ago was, what's the key to the power source at Mount Beautiful? Right?
Yeah.
What's the key to the power source at Mount Beautiful? I held it up with the question, does the key still work? The book title, with a mountain and a key and Mott Auditorium, the key still works. And here's what the Lord quickly brought together, even though I didn't fully understand it at the time. I had gone through the loss of my wife, the loss of my church, my friends, my reputation, my ministry. In the period immediately prior to that, 5, 6, 7 years, but I had gone through a couple decades of just the patient, hidden refinement of God.
Come on, so good.
Felt like a furnace to my soul.
Yeah.
It felt like everything that I felt I was called to was delayed, was absent, was unattainable.
Yeah.
And yet, in spite of
Come on.
so many failures, so many objective ways I blew it,
Yeah.
I had an author
Yeah.
and a finisher.
Yeah. Hey.
And 2012, do you remember the dream?
Yeah.
When all the crap was happening and everything was going wrong, and Isaiah 54 was, before you even see it manifest, you got to live in the hope and the promise of it. And I looked on the wall and it said 20-12. Not only 2012, but from 1992 when I had my 12 waterfall dreams. That was my 12. The Lord called me into an apostolic call with 12, and He said, you've got to wait until you step under the waterfall. That was the dream in 1992. Add 20 years to it, and I'm at 2012, coming into alignment with a prophet named Lou. And we're stepping 20-12 in 2012, and the Lord told me on a clock that it was going to be exactly that. But I didn't know how to read it at the time. Are you with me?
We listened.
Is that...
So good.
You missed it?
No, that's
Okay,
so good.
okay.
Love it, love it.
The clock is telling me the timeline, but I don't have the eyes to see it yet. But I've got an author, and I've got a finisher. And come 2012, he just reminds me, see, I've got this. You're right on track. And now I've come into an alignment.
So good.
Oh, now I have to rush.
No, give extra time. Don't worry.
I tell you what, if you need to leave...
No, don't say that.
Okay.
You should just keep going.
Okay. All right. What?
Stop when you stop.
No, just keep going.
All right. Here we go. So, now we got to fast forward. We're in the present tense. Reverend Betty has brought Lou and I, through her generosity, and put us up at a hotel right over here, the Novotel, right in the hotel district here by Wembley Stadium. We've been writing the Jesus Fast, and based on our schedules, we just had to be together somewhere, and it happened to be here in London. Now, I'm going to weave this together quickly. In 1999, a YWAM leader came to Lou. Now, Lou's ministry really started in a big public way in the year 2000.
That's right.
In D.C., when 450,000 kids answered his call to come to the National Mall and fast and pray. So before he was even really known, he had been working in pastoring with Cheon, and he was just a prayer guy. He was a revival and prayer guy. He even before working with Che, he would mow the lawn for 8 hours a day. And people would ask him how boring and monotonous that must be, and he'd say, no, it's the greatest job ever. They pay me to pray. So this is the history of the man. Well, 99, even before he's known, he's still known. God's bringing others to him for alignment also.
That's right.
And so the YWAM leader asks him, would you write a book to help usher in the millennium with a call to fasting, global call to fasting? Well, Lou has been spiritually trained in a book by Franklin Hall called Atomic Power with God Through Prayer and Fasting.
Yes.
Came out in 1945. It stirred a global movement of fasting and prayer that triggered the latter rain renewal, led to the healing revivals of the 50s, and was part of the DNA of the Jesus movement and the charismatic renewal and all of that. You are living probably in some of the fruit of the revelation that happened from that fasting movement in 45, 46, 47, 48. So Lou, because he's thinking atomic power with fasting, and this guy's asking him, would you write a book on fasting? Lou thinks, nobody knows me, right? But God, if you want me to do this, have someone have a dream tonight.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Have someone have a dream that I'm flying a plane and dropping an atomic bomb.
Listen to this one.
So, the next morning, somebody calls him and says, Lou, I had a dream about you. I had a dream that you were flying a plane and dropping an atomic bomb. Lou thinks, well, that's cool, God, but I'm not going to be able to mobilize the world with that. So, Paul Cain, a prophet named Paul Cain, remarkable man of God. If you don't know him, he walked in extraordinary revelation for many years. He was coming to Pasadena. Lou says, God, I need more confirmation. I ask you to give Paul Cain, have him call me out by name. That's what he did. He would minister like this, call people out by name, read their mail. Have him call me out by name and have him give me Ecclesiastes 11:1, cast your bread on the waters. In many days it'll come back to you, right? And his thinking behind that was, cast your bread, fasting. I'm not going to eat. That's how Lou was doing it.
Yeah.
And secondly, you cast the bread of your revelation out there and you just see what God does with it. So he said, if you want me to do this, I don't know how to do it. I don't have this kind of voice, but have him call me out. Paul Cain calls out his wife Therese by her first name, which is Joanna, that nobody knows. Then calls Lou out by his middle name, Louis Dean Engel. And he says, I see that you are a skinny man because you've been fasting, and the Lord says to you, Ecclesiastes 11:1, cast your bread upon the water. He said, you don't know the reason for your middle name now, but you will come to know it in the future, and it's important for you. Now this is years before Lou and I ever knew each other. But I'm having my dreams around that time of the beautiful mountain. And he goes from there, a week later, he's invited to a Bible college that wants to offer him an honorary doctorate.
Oh, that's so funny.
He shows up at the Bible college to offer him an honorary doctorate. They give it to him, and the president of the school looks at it and says, well, this is strange. I'm sorry. You got to take it anyway. She wasn't here tonight, but the dean didn't sign. The dean of the school didn't sign your doctorate. And he just thought, my middle name, Paul Cain's word, what does dean mean? Sit on that. From 1999 to about 2012. Now we're here, 2015. We're here at Wembley. We're writing the book on atomic power. It's chapter 8 in the book. It's called Inaugurating War in the Heavens. It's all about Daniel, who fasted and prayed to inaugurate war in the heavens. And the whole point of the metaphor of atomic power that Franklin Hall laid out is that fasting is to prayer what the atomic bomb is to conventional bombs. It takes it to an entirely different level. And so we're writing about how to inaugurate war in the heavens, how to have the problem of this great undetonated bomb of fasting in the church. We have a prayer movement and we have a little bit of fasting. But by and large, the exponential increase in the effectiveness for breakthrough that inaugurates war is an undetonated bomb. We don't corporately fast often.
That's right.
And so we're writing about this dilemma because with the book we want to call the people to a Jesus fast.
Yeah.
The entire globe, we want every nation committing once or twice a year to 40 days of fasting until we start to see the kind of radical breakthrough in ending the battles of our age that the atomic bomb brought to World War II.
Yeah.
Franklin Hall wrote it in 1945 after witnessing the power of the atomic bomb to end the war. So we're there and we're just swimming in this idea of the undetonated bomb, the power of fasting, atomic power. We decide to take a break because our brains are going to melt. We go to Churchill's war bunkers here. Have any of y'all ever been there?
Yeah.
It's worth a trip. Churchill's a hero of ours. We think it's the church on the hill, the strength of leadership and the power of the high call of God in the church. And Churchill led as a model of that in World War II. We go and it's fascinating. We got all the quotes and links and we're in Churchill's war era. And the bunker, of course, is where he commanded the Battle of Britain when all the bombs were raining down.
Yeah.
London was led, the government, in that bunker through all the bombs raining down.
Yeah.
So we're in bomb land, right?
Yeah.
We come back that day. I believe it was Albert. Was it Albert brought us?
No, I sent him and Debo.
Dabo.
Dabo and himself. I sent
Yes.
two of them, yeah.
So they came and they were with us and brought us back, and just right out here, they let us off because we were going to walk back to our hotel. But the whole area is cordoned off. The police have it cordoned off this street and this street and this street, and we're trying to walk and find a way to get back to the hotel. We can't. We finally asked one of the bobbies, what's the deal? Why can't, and they said, There's work going on in the basement of one of these apartments or hotels, and the workers found an undetonated World War II bomb.
Listen to that.
So the whole area for a couple miles is cordoned off. You have to get a shelter. You aren't going to be able to sleep in the hotel tonight. Well, we're supposed to leave the next day, and our manuscript is in the hotel. So we set off, and 5 more minutes and I'm done. We set off, and I think maybe if we walk all the way around Wembley Stadium, if we walk all the way around Wembley Stadium, maybe we can get past that section that's cordoned off and come in the backside to the hotel. So as we're walking this huge circle, anyone walked around Wembley?
Yeah.
That's a big circle.
Yeah.
So as we're walking, I remember a dream I had many years before I ever knew Lou. It was 2002, and in the dream, I am a nuclear bomb engineer. Okay? I'm a nuclear bomb engineer, and I'm supposed to detonate 2 bombs. One of them is in an open field. This open field is on fire, and it's keeping me from getting to the bomb. But I have, in my dream, my life coach. And he's telling me, Dean, go to the fire. Dean, go to the fire. And so I'm making these huge circles. In the dream, I'm making these huge circles. And every time I pass his point, he says, go to the fire. Finally, I know I just have to do it. I run, I dive, I plant the bomb. Sure enough, it goes off. I don't die. I think, how am I not going to die? When you fast for 40 days, you will think, how am I not dying?
Yeah.
It's just part of it. God beautifully weaves these things in the language of His dreams. I think, how am I not dying? But I'm not dying. Instead, the nuclear plume fills the skies. Now, this is what fasting does. It clears the skies.
Yeah.
You inaugurate war in the heavens, and you sweep away principalities and powers so that heaven can align with earth, and now we're in the realm of agreement. So, in the cleared away skies, as big as the sky can be, how big is that? 30, 50, 100 miles of open visibility? The story of the gospel plays out in brilliant color, and as I'm watching, I'm stunned and I'm thinking, every eye on earth can see this. I know in the dream that there's not a place around the planet that the sky isn't lit up with the story of the gospel. God has taken a divine movie projector, and nobody can get away from the story of redemption.
That's right.
Every eye will see and will know. And I hear Mike Bickle's voice. This is about the billion-soul harvest. This is about the billion-soul harvest. And the dream, the message in the sky fades, and I'm overwhelmed, I'm stunned, I'm looking around, I'm thinking it's going to be so easy to save the lost now. And sure enough, they're just stumbling like this. They've seen the same thing I've seen, and they're coming up just saying, you know what, save, help me, save. I don't even say a good prayer, they get saved. People around me that are believers, I see, this person's praying and this disease is being healed, this person's praying, this person's getting saved. It's, in America, we call it like shooting fish in a barrel. Right? This is the easiest evangelism there is. They are coming, they are ready, and they are getting healed and saved. I am weeping in the dream, and I wake up, and it's 3:16 on my clock. And I know that God has given me a message. Now I'm remembering this as we're walking around Wembley Stadium. And we get around to the back end, and we happen to come to a street called Engineers Way. You can't make this stuff up. I get to a street called Engineers Way, and that leads me to another little street that takes us to the hotel. We get our undetonated bomb. We leave. The book comes out. Lou is getting the first copy, the first draft in California. He's supposed to go speak someplace. He's getting the first draft. I did most of the writing. And so he's getting to read it through all the way for the first time. He's supposed to go to a speaking engagement. He feels checked of the Lord. He never knows where he's going. His assistant makes the appointments for him, but he feels like he just needs to get a hotel that night and that afternoon and read until he speaks that night. He's reading, he's weeping, and he feels like the Lord is bringing his story all together because this was his atomic bomb from 1999.
Yeah.
The little book that didn't really reach the world, now we have a book that is going to reach the world.